Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf, which is Eruvin Samach Daled. We are on Samach Gimel Amud Beis, 10 lines from the bottom. Says the Gemara, Hahu Muvoya Davadayer Ba Lachman Bariskak. We learned earlier that when Yisrael live in a Chatzer or in a Mavi, they have two options. They can merge together by making an Eruv. So in a Chatzer it's Eruv Chatzeres, in a Mavi it would be the Shit of Mavois. Or alternatively they could be Mavatel their Rishus. So a person who hadn't taken part in the Eruv can relinquish, give up his usage rights, so to speak, of the that area, and effectively make the other fellow the sole owner of the area. Now we're speaking within the context of Shabbos or Chatzeres. Certainly he doesn't become the actual owner and it's completely his. It means that we deem it as though it's completely, as he's the host and the other fellow is merely the guest. So in terms of requiring Eruv Chatzeres, it's not necessary any longer because the other fellow who gave up his rights, so to speak, has turned himself into a guest for the sake of Shabbos of this other fellow, and a guest doesn't have to take part in the Eruv or the Shittif. But if there's a guy living there, then we learned, according to the Shita of Rabbi Yehuda ben Yaakov, the halacha concludes, follows his Shita, and when there are two Yisraelim living together with a guy, which is something which is common, and therefore the Chacham are concerned, they don't want Yisraelim to mingle with Goyim, be influenced by them. They didn't allow the Eruv or Shittif method to be employed. Rather, you need to do schiris. You need to actually rent the property, the rishus of the chatzar from the guy. This is something that is inconvenient. Perhaps the guy wouldn't cooperate, and therefore it will lead to discouraging Yisraelim from living with guy. Says the Gemara, Ahu Mavoya, there was this certain alleyway that had chatzeris accessing the mavoi. They have a dair ba Lachman Baristak. There was this fellow, this guy, Lachman Baristak, was living, occupied one of the chatzeres which accessed the mavi. Taisus brings a girsa, Rabbi Yehuda Kessler's Haman Baristak. So this fellow Haman, he lived in the mavi here with some other Yisraelim who lived in the adjacent chatzeres. Now they wanted to be able to carry in the mavi. So generally you need to do a shit of mavois. All the chatzeres merge together. But when there's a guy occupying one of the chatzeres, that's not to be done. Rather, they have to go ahead and do schiris. Amrulei eiger lan rishusach. So they approached him. Can you please rent us your usage rights, your property? Lo eiger lahu. He refused, just as the Chacham predicted. A guy views it with suspicion. He doesn't want to cooperate. So now they were stuck. They couldn't carry. Asu amrulei labayit. So they went over to Abaye to ask him for advice. Amr lahu, so he told him, look, I have an idea for you. Zilu bitilu rishu saichel gabechad. Why don't you all do bittul? Give up your rights. Legabechad. Be mevatel to one of the members here. Make him the sole owner of the mavi here. And now you only have one person living with the guy. So although practically speaking you have many people here, but there's only one owner, one balabais. So you have one Yisrael living with a guy. Because everybody else are like guests. And what's the halach when there's only one Yisrael living with a guy? The guy doesn't make it asa. In accordance with Shittas of Rabbi Yehuda ben Yaakov. So I have a simple solution. All make bittul to one person, let him become the sole owner. Now it's one Yisrael who's deemed to be the balabayas of the whole area, together with the guy. One Yisrael with the guy is okay. Amrulei, so they told him, look, what's the whole pshat that only two Yisraelim are asa, not one Yisrael? Midihu taima. What is the whole reason? As we discussed this earlier in Daf Samach Aleph, it's not common for one Yisrael to live with a guy. He fears for his life. Therefore, Chacham had no reason to be concerned that this will happen. Therefore, they didn't make it us. But in this case, v'hacha hakadairi. They're living, meaning this is something which is commonplace, to have many Israel living with a guy. So although you worked it out halachically, that they're not really the owners, they're just the guests, but practically speaking, they're all living together. And when you have many people living together, there's no fear from the guy. It's something which is commonplace. And that's not what the Chacham had in mind. So let's treat it like more than one Yisrael. It's more than one Yisrael, then it's also. Amar Lahu, Sabai told me right. Practically speaking, you have many people living here. But in this configuration, in this arrangement that I've suggested to you, to have everybody mevatel the Rishus one, this is something which is not commonly found. This concept that all the members should be mevatel their Rishus and give it away to one person, that also is something which is uncommon. We have a rule of thumb. Chacham don't enact gzeiros in a situation which is lo shchiach. It's uncommon. A rare scenario. Chacham didn't bother applying the gzeir and takana in that case. So you're right. You have many people living here who are perfectly comfortable and feel secure with the guy. But this arrangement to have them all be mavatal to one person is something which is uncommon. It's something rare. It's a like misla shchicha. Therefore, Chacham will not geyser in this case, and you can proceed as I have advised you to be mavatal and have this one sole balabayis, sole owner, live with the guy because a yachid together with the guy is okay. So this was Abaye's advice, and Azal Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua. So he went along. Amra l'shmai takemed Rav. He presented the story and the advice that they got from Abaye, this halacha. He presented it to Rav. And Rav disagreed. He said, Amra le, if you follow through with this option, it's going to create complications. Im came betal to teres erev meisim mavi. You will be mevatel the concept of erev from this mavi. Meaning, people will see, well, there's carrying taking place in this mavi. Where's the erev? They're going to assume that you can carry without an erev. They won't realize that there was this whole bittul arrangement that took place, which eliminated the need for the erev. They'll see carrying without an erev. Says Gemara, okay, the ma'arvi. Let them make an erev. Even though it's not necessary. There's no need, because once they owe mevatel to this person, it's really only one balabayis, and they're just considered to be erchim, and there's no need for an erev. But let's just make an erev, a fictitious erev, for a public appearance. This way, if anybody sees carrying taking place, they'll say, well, it's because of that box of matzahs. Says why you can't do that. Yoimru erev moil b'makim nachr. Because that also will create confusion and pitfall, because people will think, look, there's a box of matzahs. There's erev. Erev? With a guy? Oh, that's going to create a problem. People will think that you can make an erev with a guy. They won't realize. They won't know the whole background of the story. Says more, we'll get around that. The machrazinan. They'll make an announcement. They'll say, Rabbi Yisai, we're placing this box of matzahs just for appearance sake. But in reality, it's not really a valid erev, because an erev wasn't necessary to begin with. So let's establish erev, but announce that it's really not a valid erev. Achraz taladardaki. Will the announcement be effective for the youngsters, meaning for the future generations? Sooner or later they'll stop making announcements, and the future generation will get confused. They'll see erev, they'll see many Yidden with a guy, they'll conclude that an erev is effective in a case where there are many Yisraelim living with a guy, which is erroneous. So either option is no good. And therefore Rava says, it's not the way to go. Elam Rava, rather do as follows. Leizel Chad Minayu, one of the members of this neighborhood, Likrav Lei, should go ahead and get close. Likrav Lei should befriend the guy. V'lishol minei duchta, and loan from the guy a small space, part of his property. V'leinech bei midi, and place something of his own belongings in that spot. So now the Yisrael has gained a foothold in the chutzah of the guy. He's a user of the property of the guy. And what is the halacha there? The havelek is schira lekitoi. Now he's considered like schira means his laborer. Ulakita means his seasonal worker who lived by the guy. And what happens by a sacher and a lokit? So halacha is if the property owner, the balabas, is a guy, but he has a Jewish worker who lives there. V'amar vidam hashmol afilu schiroi v'afilu lokitoi noisen iruva v'dayit. So although a nachri cannot participate in an eruv, but if he has a Yisrael worker living by him, then we consider that worker as though he's an owner. Since he has a foothold, he has partial residency in that property. It's a kula, a leniency that we apply for Eruvin. We consider the Yisrael as though he's the owner. And what happens by Yisrael? He simply adds, he contributes to the Eruv. And that's okay. Let's take a look at Rashi. 5 lines from the top. It says Rashi, Likrib l'gabei. So Rava tells him, look, one of you guys should go and befriend the guy. Yishtadl ha'nachri, ashe oyavoy, befriend him, v'yash lo ha'nachri mokum chatzeroi, las nuchri be'midei. And the guy will allow him to loan part of the area, to put some stuff there. Now, what happens when he puts his things there? The kivan the hashtadai Yisrael b'chatzar nachri. Once Yisrael has assumed partial ownership there, he has a foothold in the chatzar nachri, he has usage rights. We consider this Yisrael as a sachir, as a lokid, as a worker of the guy. And what is the halacha there? Im Yisraelu, if the worker is Yisrael, he can contribute to the eruv of the Bnei Mavi, that's okay. What is sachir and lokid? It says Rashi, sachir is l'avodas kol hashana. He's a all year round laborer. Lokit is l'mois hakatzer v'asif. It's a seasonal worker during the crop picking season. Okay, so this is Rava's response. I have a better option. Don't go bittul and make a fictitious eruv. It creates confusion and problems. Do something legitimate. Go ahead and befriend the guy. Use his property. And the one who uses his property is considered halachically as though he's the owner of that property. Now we just ignore the guy altogether. Let that fellow, that Yisrael, just contribute to the eruv. In this case, it's the shittim of voice, and everything's fine. Continues the Gemara on this topic of sacher v'lokit. So we say that the sacher and the lokit, who are living by the guy, are considered like owners of the guy's property, and therefore they can contribute to an eruv. Only that by Rav Yosef. Hoyisham chamisha schiroi v'chamisha lekitoi ma'u. What if you have 5 of these laborers living by the guy? So, if we consider the sacher like an owner, what happens when you have 5 Yisraelim, 5 owners? Each one has to be treated independently. Each one has to contribute independently to the eruv. So what happens if you have 5 schirim living by the guy? Do we have 5 owners here, 5 Yisrael, and each one of them has to contribute bread to the eruv? Or shall we say, ultimately it's really one property that belongs to the guy? It's a kula, leniency that we apply here. We say, well, the sacher can represent the guy. It's as though he is the owner. But it's not really his property. So it's only a leniency that we apply. We only apply it when it's going to benefit us, l'kula. But if we have 5 schirim, we won't necessarily say we have 5 owners here and each one has to contribute to the eruv. So this is Abaye's question of Rav Yosef, his Rebbe. If we have 5 of them, what is Allah? Amrullah, he says, Im amru schira v'ilkitei lahakil. If we apply this concept l'kula, we consider the Yisrael as, oh, he's the owner. That's only lahakil. Yoimru schira l'kitei lahachmer. Should we apply it even l'chumra? No, we won't do that. And therefore, only one of them has to contribute to the eruv, not all of them. Let's take a look at Rashi here, right off to the right. Hayusham bebeis hanachri. So there were 5 of these fellows living in the house of the guy. Shchamisha schirim lakitim. They were living throughout the house. Each one had his own room, so it was a separate living quarters. Dorim b'chadorim b'aliyas shilahayis rishish shalahem. If it would really have been their property, if they would really be owners, Certainly, they will have to contribute to the Eruv. Each one independently is his own owner. Because it's not masnissen. So Rashi brings a Mishnah later that each person has to give his own Eruv. The question is, Vahashta, the Rishusa, the Nachri. The thing is that over here really is the guy's property. Ma'olasas kolam be'eruv. Are they all required to contribute to the Eruv? Imshacha echav lo yinasan oisab neimavi. So if one of them neglects, is he going to make Issa prohibit the other fellows of the Mavi? Mi amrin, should we say ki echad ishavin lehi l'sachar kimbal l'hakel u'at Eruv b'mavi zeh, just as we considered l'sachar and l'hakel as owners, in order to allow them to contribute to the Eruv of the Mavi. We can ignore the guy, we should consider them to be the owners. If that's the case, Havunam Balum Lachmir. We should also consider them like a Balim when it comes to Chumrah. Each one of them is a Balim, and they all have to contribute. Or perhaps the Kula Shavin Rabban Kebalim. Chacham only consider them like an owner when it comes to Kula. We say, well, we can ignore the guy, you're like the owner. But now when it results in Chumrah, the Chol be'Eruvin lahakal. This is a recurring theme. Whenever it comes to applying halachas of Eruvin, we always do it l'kula. V'hani dira v'aday lavdid hui. Rashi brings a punchline here. The bottom line is, this dira it's not really theirs. They're not really owners, just laborers, they're workers. So, essentially it's not their dira. The fact that we consider them to be the owners, that was only to make kula. So we can ignore the good, they can represent him and his property. But perhaps, if it results in a chumrah, such as in this case, we don't necessarily have to adopt that approach. It's not really your property. And therefore, when there are 5 fellows there, they don't all have to contribute to the Eruv. It's enough that one of them does it and takes care of the entire property. So Rav Yosef responded, yes, indeed, we can adopt the kula approach, and there's no need for all of them to contribute. Continues the Gemara. Gufa, so we just learned, Amar Vidam Ashmol, Afilu Schiroi, Afilu Lekitoi, even these workers, these Jewish workers who are living in the guy's home, or the guy's chatzar, Noisni Ruvidayoi, he can go ahead and contribute to his Eruv, and that's okay. We consider the Jewish worker to be the Baal Bayis, as though he's the owner, and can be mishtatev with the Eruv. Amar Rav Nachman, Kama Ma'alya Hashmaita. How wonderful. How great is this halacha. He approved of it. Continues the Gemara. Another halacha. Amar Vidam Shmuel. So it's the same on the Amar. If you didn't name Shmuel, but an unrelated topic. The Gemara ties it in here because of Rav Nachman's response there as well. So what's the second halacha? Shasa Revi'is Yain Al Yer. If a person drinks even just a revi'is of wine, it clouds his mind, it hampers his intellectual ability, takes away his clarity, and he should not rule on halachic matters of Issa v'Heter. Amar Rav Nachman, Loi Ma'al Yoshmaita. Actually, this halacha is not a wondrous halacha. I don't really approve of it because it's negated from my own personal experience. The ha'ana, because by me, kol kama deloi shesina, Ravi Asa Dachamra. Before I drink a revi'is of wine, loitzila datoi, my mind lacks proper clarity. So the wine actually enhances my intellectual abilities. So you're not meant to say that if a person drank a revi'is of wine, he should not rule on matters of halacha. So when it came to the first halacha, Rav Nachman was complimentary. When it came to the second one, he was anything but complimentary. Omar le Rav. So Rav responded to Rav Nachman, my taima, Omar marhachi, why did you express yourself in this manner? Complimenting one halacha and being uncomplimentary towards the other. One is not meant to do so with matters of Torah. Ha'amar Rav Acha bar Chanina. Rav Acha bar Chanina said as follows, my dichsiv. What is the meaning of the pasuk in Mishlei? V'roye zoynes ya'abed hoin. And we learn as follows, Kol oimer shmo zu noah v'zu ein noah. So zoynes here is a combined word. Zu noah. He approaches one halacha, he says, this is a pleasant halacha. There's a correct halacha. And the other one is anything but. If a person approaches Torah in this manner, he loses the true value. Ma'abed hoyna shel Torah. He loses the hoyn, actually says the kvoida shel Torah, the magnitude of Torah. He says, this is a pleasant halacha, I'm going to learn it, I'm going to pursue it, but not the other one. He's approaching Torah with an air of superficiality. He's looking at the portion of Torah which is rarely understood, neglecting that Torah is really deep beyond. What is that meant to substitute content for packaging, for eloquence and articulation? Meant to keep in mind that Torah is deep, deep beyond. And don't approach Torah just looking at the surface. Well, this sounds like a pleasant halacha. This doesn't. Therefore, he says to Rav Nachman, not meant to do it this manner. Not meant to title Torah, say, well, this is Ma'al Yoshmaita, this is not. Amar lei hadribi. So Nachman accepted. He says, you're right. I'm not going to do this any longer. Amar Rabbi Barafuna, getting back to the person who drank wine, Shasai al Yispal. If a person drank a revis of wine, he should not proceed to daven, because he lacks the proper clarity. But if he did so, tefillah said tefillah, that's a valid tefillah, but the evidence works. Shikar, however, is a higher degree, an actual shikar, drunk person, al yispalel, he shouldn't daven. V'mispalel tefillah said te'eva. In this case, his tefillah is a te'eva. Domination, it's unwanted, it's invalid. He says he has to daven over. So we have the shasui, we have the shikar. How do we describe what exactly is a shasui, what is a shikar? Heichi dami shasui, heichi dami shikar. What exactly is the proper translation of the shasui and the shikar? Says the Gemara, we're going to learn it from the following story. Kiha, der Rabbi Abba bar Shumni. So from the following story of Rabbi Abba bar Shumni and Rav Menashe bar Yirmiyah midifti, have a komiftir ma'adadi. They were taking leave of each other, amabra the Nahar Yufti, by the ferry of the Yufti River. So they were leaving, and as parting words, they said as follows. Amru, they said, Kol chad minan. Every one of us, lema milsad l'shmil chavri, should say something to the other, something that the other person had never heard. A new halacha, a new lesson. Why? Why is that important? Da amar mari barafun leifater adam mechaveri ella mitech dvar halacha. When a person takes leave of his friend, he should make sure to do so with words of Torah, of halacha, shemitech kach zeichrei, because through this he'll remember him. Why? The Rambam in Pirush HaMishnah Maseches Avos explains that the more spiritual a friendship is, so whether an ordinary friendship or a marriage between husband and wife, the connection, the friendship, the association is more ruchni and less physical, the more genuine and lasting it is. It transcends time and place. So when they leave on this note, a note of Torah, a note of ruchnius, this embodies the spirituality of their friendship, of their relationship, and it lasts beyond. Even after they part and go on separate ways. It will ensure to maintain that connection. So after this introduction, Pasach Chad V'Amar. So one of them began as follows. In a matter of halacha, Heichi dami shasui, v'eichi dami shikar. We know that there's halacha about a shasui, halacha about a shikar. What exactly is a shasui or a shikar? So he explains as follows. Shasui means he drank wine, but he still has the proper clarity. Kol sheyachol adav v'nei hamelech. He has the ability to speak, to articulate himself in front of a king. Therefore, we said that his tefillah is valid. Shikar is a person who drank even more than he's in a higher state of drunkenness, and he doesn't have that ability. Kol she'ena yachol adav v'nei hamelech. He can't articulate himself clearly in front of a king. He doesn't have the ability to present himself properly in front of a melech, and therefore his tefillah is invalid. So this is a dvar halacha that one of them said. Now the other one responded. Pasach idach v'amar. The other one began and said, Hamachzik b'nichse hager. This is not actually a halacha per se, but it's a marma chazal, piece of good advice. A person who is machzik, who acquires possession of the nichsi haged, the possessions of a convert who died without any yershim, lachiz, whoever takes hold of his possessions, is machzik, is nechasim, he acquires them. This fellow got a hold of this ger's possession without much toil or effort. Now, this arouses jealousy, ein hara, as Rashi will explain for us, and therefore, a person is meant to do something to make sure that he ensures these nechasim, make sure that he holds on to them, and he doesn't lose them. What should he do? What should he do to maintain hold of these possessions? Spiritualize them. He should take a portion of the money and buy with it a Sefer Torah, and this will ensure that the possessions remain by him. Let's take a look at Rashi. 6 lines from the bottom. Hamachzik b'nich sager. Explains Rashi, this is a midi de tmiyahu. It's something unusual, it's something that people look at with amazement, something with wonder. Well, what's this person getting a hold of all these possessions? People wonder. He attained it without much effort and work. They won't really last by him. Unless he applies mitzvah to it. He spiritualizes it, in which case it's beyond the reach of Ayin Hara. And it won't be affected by people's attitude. So what is he meant to do? Take part of the money, buy a Sefer Torah. In the merit of this, he will maintain possession of the other nechasim. So it's a good insurance policy. Spiritualize your assets, and this will ensure that he holds on to them. Even in the case of a husband who acquires these possessions through marriage, that's also something where he didn't invest much effort, energy, and people begin wondering, Ein Hara, look, why is he deserving of all those properties? And that Ein Hara could affect it adversely, and therefore he's meant to elevate it, spiritualize it, to provide an insurance policy for his assets. Rav Amar, afilu avad iska v'ravach. Even if a person did a successful business deal, he also should approach it in this manner. Her Papa Amar, afilu matzu mitzia, even if he found a mitzia. Mashal explains what the afilu is, what the staggering here, even this, even that, explains the sequence of the halachas here, of the various versions. Amar Nachmar Yitzchak, afilu kasabu tefillah. This applies not only to a person who uses it for Sefer Torah, which is a large expenditure, even using part of the money for tefillin also provides an insurance policy. Micro, where do we find this in the pasuk? This concept that spiritualizing assets brings success. Look, Hashem, if you're going to give them into our hands, then we're going to make it chirim, we're going to take the properties and make them into hegdish. And they were successful, so we see that promising things for tzedakah, spiritualizing things, bring hatzlach. Okay, getting back to the halacha of the shasui, person who drank a revius of wine, he's not meant to daven. Up until what point should we consider the effect of that wine to be present? Omar Rami Barab. Derech mil, if he travels just a mil, or v'shena kolshu, just a bit of sleep, a short nap, and figan esayayin, they alleviate the effect, the clouding effect of the wine, and he can proceed in daven. Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Rav Barvu lo yishonu. This formula of a derech mil or a small nap, that's only elish shasa kedei revius. If he drank butter revius, aval shasa yosim revius, but if he drank more, then it actually has the opposite effect. Kol shkein, certainly shederech turdasai, due to the exhaustion of the trip, it's going to actually exasperate the effect of the wine. V'shina mishakarta, and the sleep will actually intensify his drunkenness. So just a bit sleep and a bit of a trip won't remove the effect of the wine. It actually has the opposite effect. Continues the Gemara. V'derech mil m'figas hayayin? Is that so that a mil of travel will make the effect of the wine dissipate? V'atanya went in a brayso. And all at the end we're going to have a reference to this halacha. I'm going to have a kasha on this formula. The brayso begins like this. Masa b'Rab Gamliel. There's a story, Ram Gamliel was riding on a donkey. traveling from Akkad to Ksiv. Rabbi Loi Malach Akrav. His Talmud, Rabbi Loi, behind him. Matzah Gluska Mederach. So Rabbi Gamliel noticed these breads on the road. Amar Loi, Eloi. So he turned to his Talmud, he said, Toil Gluska Mederach. Pick up the breads from the road. We're not meant to leave it lying on the road. Matzah Nachri Echad. So Gamliel encountered this guy. Amar Loi Mav Goy. That was his name. Toil Gluskna Loi Meiloi. Take these breads from Eloi. Okay. Nitpa Loi Rabbi Loi. So after this happened, Rabbi Loi went over to this guy fellow. Amar Loi Meichanata. Where do you come from? Amar Loi Ma'yara Shel Burgonen. From these shack towns. From these huts. Uma Shimcha, what's your name? Mavgoy Shmeni. My name is Mavgoni. So Mavgoy was actually the way Rabbi Gamliel addressed him. So Rabbi Loi was perplexed. He said, Klum hikircha Rabbi Gamliel ma'il? Tell me something. Did Rabbi Gamliel know you beforehand? Amloi lav? No. Never met him. Ba'is Shalaman. At that point we learned, Shekivin Rabbi Gamliel Ruach HaKodesh. Rabbi Gamliel was mechaven to this guy's name with Ruach HaKodesh. He addressed him with his proper name. It could be he wasn't trying to display his ability to be Masig Ruach HaKodesh. It was just something natural. He looked at him, he knew his name. Sometimes the Baal Ruach HaKodesh might not even realize that he's having Ruach HaKodesh. I heard from a nephew of a attendant of a big tzaddik, a Baal Ruach HaKodesh, the Ribnitzer Rebbe who lived in Monsey. So he had a bacher used to come by. His name was Moshe. So one time the tzaddik was sitting in his room and he's looking at this wall in front of him, a blank wall with no windows. And he begins pointing, as Moshe is coming, right through the wall. And sure enough, a minute later, Moshe shows up at the door. The Chovas HaLevavos says that a person can rise to such spiritual heights that he can see without eyes, he can hear without ears. His abilities, Neshama abilities, transcend time and place. So he's looking at a wall and he sees Moshe. He doesn't even realize that's Ruach HaKodesh. So when we took a look at this guy, he says, Mav Goy, take this bread. So that's the first thing. Kivin Rabbi Gamliel Ruach HaKodesh. Now, in addition to that, we have several more halachis which were derived from this incident. Ushloisha dvarim lamadu b'yisasha. We learned three halachas. Lamadu shem avirin al-eichlan. We're not meant to pass by, to leave food lying on the floor. That's why he instructed Eloi to pick it up. That's number one. For Lamadnu, we also learned, the fact is he didn't want to consume the bread. He assumed that it belonged to a guy, that it was pasakum, that we can't eat. Why? Because although the Isser of pas of a guy is only the Rabbanan, he followed the majority. For Lamadnu sheholchen achar roiv over drachim. The majority of wayfarers are goyim, so that provides indication that this thing is a bread of a good. Therefore, he couldn't eat it. That's number two. V'lamadnu, in addition to that, we also learned, this was right after Pesach, shechamete shel nachar echad Pesach mutar b'hana, that unlike the chametz of a Yisrael that was present on Pesach, where it's also b'hana even after Pesach, the chametz of a guy is mutar b'hana. Therefore, he had hana from this bread. Where was the hana? So Rashi explains that he derived some personal benefit. It's called toivas hana. When you give a present to somebody, a person has appreciation towards you. So you have that hana. The fact that you derive that benefit because the person feels indebted to you, that is a hana to you. And the fact that Gamliel allowed himself this hana proves that the chametz of a goy after Pesach is mutar b'hana. Taisa actually asks a kasha. Taisa says, we know the Gemara, the Zohar says, one is not meant to give a matana to a guy for no reason. So how is he able to grant this bread to the guy, matana? So Taisa brings the Gemara there that that's only if you have nothing in return. But if the guy is your neighbor, etc., so you gain favor in his eyes by giving him a present, that's called having something in return. It's like you're selling it to him. So he says here also, since he was a travel companion, some sort of association here between them, and Gamliel derived some sort of benefit fact that this person was indebted to him along the trip, that was considered to be a hana from Gamliel, and he was allowed to give us to him matana. Okay, so that's the three things that we learned. Number one, number two, the bread is presumed to be goyish bread. Number three, the chametz of a goy, which was present on Pesach, is mutar b'hana after Pesach. So that was the first phase of the story. Continues the brisa. Kivan she'egiya l'kziv. So once he arrived at his destination, bo echad l'shal nidre. So this fellow came along to ask from Gamliel to be matter to annul his vow. Omar lazesh imay. So Gamliel turned to his companion, to Rabbi Loi, the Talmud. Klum shasinu revius yain italki. Did we drink a revius of that Italki wine? Omar la yain. He said, yeah, actually we did. So Gamliel says, okay, if that's the case, I can't be matir neder right now, and we have to wait until the effect of the wine dissipates. In Cain, if that's the case, let this fellow walk behind us until the wine dissipates. So he walked behind them 3 mil until they arrived at this location. Once they arrived at these, it was a steep mountain of Tzur. So that was already after 3 mil of travel. At this point, Rabbi Gamliel assumed that the wine's effect is no longer there, and he was ready to be matir's net. Yorad Rabbi Gamliel lachamor, v'nesatev, v'yoshav, v'tilenidr. So he descended from the donkey, he wrapped himself, sat down, and was matir's net. And we learned many more things from this second portion of this brayse. We learned many halachas. Number one, Revius that wine has an effect on the person. It creates drunkenness. A fellow in this state is not allowed to rule on halachic matters. That's why he had to wait until the effect dissipated. And we learned that travel alleviates the effect of the wine. What is the proper way to make a varis nadarim? Not riding, mahalach, or walking, or standing, just as Rabbi Gamliel insisted on taking a seat prior to attending to the neder. Okay, so that was the end of the story. What pertains to us is Ketani Miyas. At any rate, the Brisa tells us how far did he need to walk for the effect of the wine to be no longer Shloisha Milin, 3 mil. Not merely 1 mil, as the Gemara told us earlier. Says Mashani Yain Talki, the Meshaker Tfei. What type of wine are we speaking here? We're speaking about Yain Talki, which is high quality wine, which has a much stronger effect on the person. And therefore, 1 mil of travel wasn't sufficient. You need to travel 3 mil for the wine to dissipate. So, okay, but let's remember, the Gemara told us earlier that this concept of a mil of travel can only be applied to a revius of wine. But if a person drinks more, then the travel will actually bring about exhaustion, and as a result of that, it's going to exasperate the effect of the wine. This concept of a mil removing the effect is only el shasa revius, strictly by revius, a small measure. Aval shasa yosim revius. But if it's more than that, kolshkein derech ter dasai v'shina meshad kartai. If you drank more than that, the trip will actually exasperate things. The short nap will exasperate things. So here that he drank, although revius, but it was yain talki, high quality wine. That's like drinking more than a revius of standard wine. So how can we say that the trip here alleviated it? It should have the opposite effect. Says on Rachav Shani. A person was riding on a donkey, it's different because it doesn't have that exhaustive effect on the person. And therefore, we can assume that the effect has been alleviated once he's traveled a certain amount. Says the Gemara, now that you've come to this point, this clarity, that there's a difference between travel by foot and riding on a donkey, which is less exhausting. If so, we're going to answer that first kasha. Remember, the first kasha was, why 3 mil if 1 mil is sufficient? L'Rami bar Abba nami l'kasha. It's not going to be a kasha on Rami bar Abba who told us that 1 mil is sufficient. Why did he require 3? Rochav shani. Because when a person is riding, the effect is lessened. It's less of a travel experience, and therefore, in this case, you need to have 3 mil, which is equivalent to a mil of traveling by foot. Okay, so in summary, we learned that if a person drank wine, whether it was a revius or more, he's not meant to rule on matters of halacha, of Issa v'heter, nor is he meant to daven. What if he davened anyways? So it depends. If he was yochel, l'daber l'fnei melech, he had the ability, enough clarity, to present himself properly before a king, then his tefillah is a tefillah. But otherwise, it is not. How does one alleviate the effect of wine? A derech mil, traveling, even a mil is enough. But if he's actually riding, then it needs to be longer than a mil. Or sheina kol shul, a short nap. That's if it was only revius that he drank. If he drank more, or he drank revius of high quality wine, such as in the story with Rabbi Gamliel, then he needs to ride at a distance of 3 mil in order to properly alleviate the effect of that wine. Continues the Gemara. So Rabbi Gamliel wanted to address the nether. He came off the donkey. He sat down. Why was that necessary? Why does one need to actually sit down to create this whole formal atmosphere? Is that really necessary? A person couldn't be matir, whether traveling, standing, or mahalach means walking, ayim means standing, rochav is riding. So we don't need to have that formal arrangement. Why was it necessary in this case? It says it's actually dependent on a machlekes tanoim. How intense of an experience is it going to be? How much does the person have to apply himself, concentrate on the matters at hand? It depends what's involved. There's one shita that says that the chacham needs to really engage himself in the experience because he has to be peiseach b'charata. He has to initiate and open up with words of trying to generate regret on the part of the petitioner. Trying to highlight him, look at the effects of what you did, and this will bring him to be mischaret, to regret having ever made that nether, and automatically, by itself, it becomes obsolete. It's not what he had in mind. So that's pshat paisum charata. Now that requires focus and concentration. Therefore, the chacham needs to sit down to do it b'yishuv hadas. This apparently was the shita of Rabbi Gamliel. But there's another shita that doesn't require that. That's not necessary. You don't need to generate charata. The chacham has the power on his own to annul the nether. In which case, you don't need to have proper concentration, and he can do it in any position that he finds himself. The Omar Rabba Bar Bachana Mar Yechna. That indeed we find that Rabbi Gamliel, he held the view that we need to be pesach b'charata, and therefore he needed to sit down to address the nether. As Rabbi Bar Bachana said in the name of Yechna, my pasach le Rabbi Gamliel o Gavra. How did Rabbi Gamliel open up? How did he engage his fellow? He began the conversation by quoting a pasuk in Mishli to negate this whole practice of making a dharma, to bring him to regret what he did. Yesh boite kemad kurois cherev u'l'shoyin chacham marpi. We learn like this. Kol ha'boite, boite means one who expresses himself. He makes a nether. Roy ledoikro b'cherev. He's deserving to be poked with a sword to get misa, because nedarim can bring about pitfalls. If he's not mekayim the nether, but it's not meant to utter nedarim. That's the first portion of the pasuk. Ela shalashon chacham marpe. The pasuk includes velashon chacham, the words of the chacham marpe. They bring remedy because the chacham can undo the nether and remedy the situation. So this is how Rabbi Gamliel engaged his fellow, bringing him to charata, showing the fallacy of what he did, and generating regret. And indeed, that's why he needed to specifically sit down to apply himself properly to the procedure. Amar, we just learned, one of the things we learned from Gamliel's story was that you're not meant to leave food lying. You're meant to pick it up and take care of it respectfully. Omar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So Rabbi Yochanan tells us the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Lo Yishanu. This is only said in the early generations. Shein Bnei Yisrael Prutzos Big Shafim. Hey, daughters of Yisrael not into doing kishuf. And therefore, if you want to find some bread in a Jewish area, there's no concern that it is laced with sorcery that can bring about, that can harm a person. However, in the later generations, and unfortunately, Shabnei Yisrael Prutzos Big Shafim, they're into kshafim. We just leave the food as is. We don't risk getting entangled in the sorcery that may be associated and embedded in that bread. Says the Gemara Tana, we learned in the Brayso, Shleimin Mavir. Indeed, if they're complete whole loaves, we just leave it alone because perhaps it could contain kishuf, a kishuf element in it. This was done specifically on whole loaves. Psisin, but if they're just pieces, Mavir, not meant to leave them because there's no concern about kshafim being involved there. They don't make kishuf on slices, on pieces. The pasuk indicates otherwise. The pasuk says, "Vatechalel noisi el ami b'shali so'irim u'v'saysei lechem." So the pasuk here is describing the the kishuf that they did with all these types of foods, and v'saysei lechem are pieces of bread. So apparently kishuf can be applied there as well. Says the Gemara, no. It can only apply to whole loaves. The shakli be'agrayu. These small pieces of bread describing the pasuk, that's not what they used for the kishuf. Rather, it was meant as payment given to these women for their kishuf services. But in reality, only whole loaves are suitable candidates for kshafim, just as the Brayso taught us. Okay, time for a brief chazara of today's daf. We began with the Mavoi, where several Yisraelim lived, together with this guy Lachman Baristak, or Haman Baristak, who refused to do schirus with them. So when they approached Abai for advice, he told them, look, go be mavatal all your usage rights to one Yisrael. Now you have one property owner living with the guy, that's okay. And he concluded that this is a milsa l'shchicha, an uncommon scenario, in which case there's no gzera d'rabbanan, they can carry even without doing schirus with the guy. Rabbi disagreed with this approach. He says it can bring about confusion. Rather, he suggested one of the Israelim should befriend the guy, loan some of his property, gain a foothold in his chutzner, be regarded like a sachir b'lakit, like a laborer who resides with the guy, who the Chachamim consider as though he's the property owner, in which case he can contribute to the Eruv. We had the lesson that Rabbi taught us that one is not meant to say shmozu na, shmozu einana. It's not meant to label and complement halachas of Torah. Rather, approach the entire Torah uniformly, and this way he'll be zeichet the Torah properly. We had the incidents of these two chaverim taking leave of each other. We went to do so mitoch dvar halacha, to enhance the friendship, spiritualize it. And one of them began by explain the difference between halachic difference between a shasoi and a shikar. Why a person only drank a bit of wine, his tefillah works, the other one doesn't, because he has the ability to be medabel fnei melech. The other one's mental capacity is has been so inhibited that he doesn't have that ability to present himself clearly in front of a king, therefore his tefillah is invalid. So that was one halach. And the other one responded by telling us a lesson about a case where a person was machzak b'nichsei ager. He acquired possessions without much effort. That arouses jealousy and hara. How does one maintain it? What is the best insurance policy? Spiritualize it. Take a portion of that money and buy with it a Sefer Torah. So proceeding with the halacha of a person who drank wine. So if he drank a revius or more than a revius, he's not meant to rule on matters of halacha, not meant to daven. B'diavad, if he davened, as we just mentioned, if he had the ability to be medabel fnei melech and his tefillah works, otherwise it doesn't. Has one alleviate the effect of wine? The Gemara tells us traveling a mil by foot, or if he's riding that he needs more than a mil, or even a short nap, alleviates the effect of a revius. If it's more than a revius, or it was a revius high quality wine, such as the yain hitalki, drunk by Ram Gamliel, in that case you have to undertake a long trip, a trip of 3 mil riding on a donkey, which will alleviate the effect of the wine. We had a brisa with the whole story, with Rabbi Gamliel, and we learned many things. Number one, that he was Machav Ruach HaKodesh, to the name of the guy. We learned that Ein Mavir Al Eichel. We're not meant to just pass by, leave the food on the floor. The Gemara concluded that in the latter generations, where Kishav was more prevalent even amongst the Yisraelim, so in this case, you have to be wary, and if it's a complete loaf, it's a shalom, just leave it alone. From the fact that Rabbi Gamliel didn't consume the bread himself, rather he looked for a guy to give it to, we learned that we are hoilech achar roiv. When it comes to the halacha of not eating the bread of a guy, which is this is the Rabbanan, even there we follow the roiv, and since the majority of travelers are goyim, one must refrain. Although this took place after Pesach, and we presume that this chametz was around on Pesach, a chametz of a goy is mutter after Pesach, mutter bahana. So therefore he was able to give it to the Mavgoy fellow, although he derived some sort of personal hana by giving it to him. We learned that a revius of this yaini talki is mishacher. We learned that a shikar al yoyre should not rule on matters of issa v'heter. We learned that traveling alleviates the effect of wine. And we learned as well that when it comes to havaras nedarim, it can only be done in a sitting position, according to the Shita of Rabbi Gamliel, because he holds poischem b'charata. The Chacham can't just invalidate the neder. He needs to engage the fellow. He needs to bring him to charata, to regret what he did. That requires proper concentration, application, and that can only be done sitting down.